Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. If you're a returning visitor, it's lovely to see you again. If you're new here, it's lovely to see you. Not literally, but you know what I mean, to have you here. I'm Angela Porter. I love to draw. I love to encourage other people to draw, and I enjoy sharing my thoughts and my process because I know that everybody will pick up what they need from what I do, even if it's I don't like that. That's not my style, or an insight into how the mind can work when you've got a mind that's like mine, which I'm not even going to try to explain or describe at the moment. Not. So, you're most welcome. If you enjoy what I do, please subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up, most appreciated, and of course thank you for all the lovely comments. So, what I have here is the first page in my illustrated journal. I started that in my previous video with this flower here. Yeah, I've since finished it, but in fairness, I did all of these in a previous video where I started this on dot grid file paper, which I then went and lost. Can't find it. It'll turn up when I least expect it, but I've redone it now. Luckily I had photos and a video. And I've written down some words at the top which you can pause and read if you wish, but it basically echoes what I talked about in that video. The only thing I think I might have done to this, I can't remember if I added the shading in the video or not. I've added shading here to some but not all. And this is a bit different because I needed it to go this way, but the motifs are the same. So this one is what I did Friday evening yesterday because I've been losing myself in art. It's a way I can keep myself content and balanced, gives me some peace. And so this is one book I'm working in, there's another two at the moment. And so I did that Friday evening yesterday, finished it. Lots of motifs in here. Some of them look really complicated, but they're not as complicated as you think they are. And some are a bit more complicated than I think they are. So we'll have a look at some of these in a moment. But I'm trying to put things together that have a theme on the page, or shapes or elements that sort of go together. I haven't quite got it right here with these. These are a bit of an oddity here, and perhaps these, except their foliage. But, you know, that's going to happen because I'll go, oh, I'll draw those. And you go, yeah. And I've got the Indirella here. I really like Indirella as a pattern. It's one of those ones you think, that's really clever. Never thought of doing that. Well, I do now. I enjoy doing this. So there's seed pods, there's shells, there's seaweedy type stuff, there's little bubbles or little things, more shells. These, I think, they remind me sort of cowrie shells, but they could be seeds or pods of some kind. And something that looks a bit like strange seaweed or a strange sea urchin. And then this is what I started working on this morning. And again, there's sort of like, with this one, you can see there's some themes with shapes. We've got sort of spiral shapes. We've got these teardrop shapes going on with the pods and with some of these shells. This isn't too dissimilar to this, I suppose. More spirals. Leaves are leaves, you know, they're going to happen. So, and I've used some other patterns in these. Look at that one. Got Diva Dance in. There's something about Diva Dance that looks absolutely fabulous when you use it just in part of a shell. I don't know why, but yes, I'm going to show you how to do that one. Even if I don't show you the more complex ones. And then this one I was starting earlier today, and it looks quite odd. But when you look at, I say odd, bit, you know, varied and so on. But when you look at things, you can see there's there's two main common themes here. One theme are these circles that have got like little motifs or little areas inside them. The original one actually was one of these, but I made such a mess of drawing it. It would have been something like this or like this. So it looks like we've got a little hole going inside with some texture coming off. But then they varied a bit to a nice round hole that you can look into, star shapes, areas of dots that create a pattern, and so on, and sort of like stars within a circle. Same down here, except I've also done circles and I've got things inside them and so on. It's just seeing what can be done and something just to spark off. this looks almost like it's trailing off, almost like this is stuck on the top and we've got something dripping down. And that would be a nice way to have them, is a sort of like almost like a fringe along a larger piece of paper. All of these other patterns though, believe it or not, all have the same root construction. A line, in this case semicircles, something to fill in, and in this one I left gaps so I didn't draw a wavy line. In others, like this one, I actually drew a wave in, as I did in this one, and then auraed it. No, I didn't aura it, I put the black bits inside. This one I've put it together in what's that Zentangle pattern, Sakura kind of way, where I've done the arches, added an extra line, arches, line, arches, line, so it sort of like builds a great amount of depth there. It's a kind of weaving going on. I enjoyed that, but I also like all my weird bunting, because that's what it looked like to me. I thought, oh, this looks like, let's make some more. So I've got bunting everywhere and bits dangling off. Oh, and some flax crept in there because, well, I had a little space there that needed filling, so that seemed appropriate. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. This is actually my second attempt at doing this video. I actually did these first and then I realised I'd been out of view on the camera for a few of them. Yeah. So we'll do it again, and this time I will try to keep in view. I'm not going to promise I will, but I will zoom in a bit. That'll be okay. Tell you what, how about if I got any to hand? Oh, darn it, I don't seem to have. Do I have some there? Nope. Can't see any washi tape, or nope, no washi tape that I can see near me, or tape, so we're just going to have to cross your fingers, wish me well with this, okay? Just wish me well. Okay, let's start with something that is on the easier side. I'm going to start with these cowrie shells, and I say cowrie shells, they could be cowrie shells, they could be seed pods, they could be anything you want them to be, but I'm just going to start with a rounded, I was going to say a rounded almond shape. It's not almond shaped, it's an oval. Then I'm going to start by putting a curved line from long end to long end, not right from the middle, a bit lower down in the middle, and then I'm going to aura it. I chose to do it on the bottom because I had more space there. That's the only reason. This is an 05 Pigma Micron pen. Okay, Pigma Micron 05. I'm going to use an 01. This is a Unipin pen from Uniball. It's an 01. They're both pigment pens. They're both waterproof, mostly, when they dry. And I'm just going to put some curved lines underneath here. And I'm breaking the lines and putting a dot in the middle of the break. So it's line, dot, line. And that just gives some feeling that there might be some volume to that, like it's got some dimensions. So let's add another one. They like to be, well, I like to pile them and I think they look good. You have them sort of behind one another. And what I'm going to try and do is put the lines in different directions, or perhaps some different patterns on the bottom. I did a line on this one, so how about we do, I'm going to use my thicker pen. I'm going to do some curvy shattuck. So we're doing a zigzag, but instead of straight lines, we're curving them outwards. I wonder if it will work if you curve them inwards, actually. Never thought of that. So a different pattern. Have a look. Just draw a line between these, because I can. So normally I'd bend outwards, so what about if I bend inwards and do that here? So the next one, we don't start at the bottom, we start at the one at the top, so let's bend that one in. Start at, so it needs to go this way. It's the next one, so we're going to bend it that way. It's not so easy to do because I'm so used to having them bending outwards. But once you've got the first two down, I can see, this one needs to go that way. This one needs to bend that way. Gives a very different feel, doesn't it? And look, it's not quite as clear as the other one, but I think we can help to bring it out by using line thickness for these. So if we weight that and do the same here, that might help a bit. It's a bit clunky. Actually, that works quite nicely. Well, there we are then. I've never done that before, not to my knowledge. There we go. That worked nicely. And I like those darker lines, slightly thicker lines here. So I'm just going to pop that in. And I'm also going to add some line weight, like so. So I'll add one more. So let's have that one down here. And I'll have it going this way. What I'm going to do with this one though is I think I'm going to create some stripes, perhaps with a bit of a sparkle in the middle. A bit of a gap for where there would be a highlight. I always draw mine as like little boxes, but I know other people will flick their pens to give them a more ragged, satiny looking thing. Well, I can add another one. Can you see at the end I'm curving the lines round? If you do them straight it makes this look very flat, but when you curve them, so I'm taking this shape like so, it really does give them that feeling that there's more to this than flatness. So you can fill these any way you wish, even put the central bit in again, and let's pop something in that looks a bit flowery, as if it's growing from underneath this. So I'd actually put a bit of line weight there, as if this is overlaying it. Then on the bottom perhaps some lines just to shade it. It's very black around the top there, so I'm going to add an aura around it. So that's another variation, and then I could actually add petals all the way around. I'm inventing flowers, and inventing patterns and motifs is a lot of fun. It really is. And then I'll just put some little semicircles here. My pen work may not be fantastic with this because I am going to go a little bit quicker, and this is really just for demonstration, though I've got to find a way of adding it into this book now. You do know that. So those are fun. That's fun. Okay, so I'll just add, well, they're so fun, I can't help but add just one more here. And I'm going to add one like this. And I think I'll have some little lines underneath, and then perhaps like so. So we've got that happening there. The possibilities are endless. It's just up to you with your creativity, and sometimes it's what the mood takes me. Okie dokes. I think we'll pop some foliage in here, and I had some foliage that is going to go like this. So I'm going to draw an S shape, okay, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add a wibbly wobbly line, so a wavy line, by making the waves quite tall, and then I'm going to join this back like so. Yes, it looks like a weird hand, but what we're going to do then is I am going to put some little curves on the end there so that it looks like we've got, I don't know, a brush or a strange kind of seaweed growing. And then I'm going to add a couple of others right next door to it, and I'm not even going to worry about having the same shape. It's this bit on the end that makes them family members. And I like these. They're fun to draw. And I'm not worried about how many... Oh, look at that, I've smudged it. Well done, Angela. How many fingery bits they've got at the end. You can make them as few or as many as you like. You can make them as long or as thin as you like. And then just curve back so we get a nice narrow line. These bits here can stick out a bit more if you wish. Doesn't matter, it's how you like to make them. And they'll be interesting to add colour to, but they can also have pattern added to them because, well, you can do anything you like. And the same, we can add pattern to this here. So perhaps this one has a stripy stem. And perhaps this one has these divided into like little seeds almost, you know, perk-like, if we're talking Zentangle terms here. So that's nice, I like that. You know, these gaps in between, these are perfect for popping little seeds or bubbles in. I'm just going to put a little black dot in there so they look a bit more seed-like. All these little nooks and crannies are things where I tend to throw things in or put things in to fill them up. I'll use colour or shadow or black even to fill the spaces between. It depends to bring these patterns out. It's just how I work. Okay, let's have some others on this side. And on this side we're going to start with a wobbly line. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to aura that, but that aura gets further away from that original line the closer I get to where it's rooted, as it were. So there we've got some wobbly seaweed. And so we can do another one. So I can have one that perhaps grows out of this one as if it's branched. Or stacked behind it, like so. Just choose where I want the central part to grow, and then everything else will fall in line, as it were. I'm saying as it were a lot. I don't know where I've picked that up from. So we're beginning to get all of this growing together, so that's quite fun. And again, I'm going to pop some seeds in places. I don't like 4s. I don't like even numbers. But I'm going to make them the same as the ones on the other side because that connects this with this. That's actually beginning to look quite nice. Pull that up. So I'm beginning to get a nice arrangement here, as if we're going to work around the borders, which is possible. Okay, So I think what I'll do is I'll start in this corner and draw something a bit different up here. So I could draw simple, let me do that. I'm going to draw some spirally kinds of shells. So I'm just going to start with one that is just a simple spiral. And here I've tried to make the distance between the line I'm drawing and, as I go around, is to get this distance between the lines to widen. You can exaggerate it as much as you like. Here I'm going to stop the end of this shell with a tall, thin kind of petal or feathery shape. But I'm going to put 3 of them there. You could put more if you like, you could leave it at 1. And then with this one, I'm just going to draw some lines in, and I am going to have these all going, or the curves sort of nesting one into another, because that's what would happen with spiral shells and ammonites like this. Inside each one of these lines, or these lines separate out inside into chambers, and they're sort of like growth lines almost. So as the creature grows and creates more shell, you get these lines, patterns forming. This is the simplest version, or simplest way of drawing them. And so they would grow in the same direction. You'd have the same kind of shape on the end. But you can see I've made them quite straight on the end. If I'd drawn these first, I could actually replicate that shape. So let's try that with one next door. Still on the camera. Well done, Angela. So these will bend towards this opening like that. So I'm just making sure they all bend in the same direction. It makes sense. And I'm trying to have these lines sort of like go in between the ones in the outside. Then here we're going to draw our little petal shaped end like that. So it doesn't look quite so rigid and regimental, it looks a bit more organic. But either way will do. They are just patterns, they're not meant to be realistic. But as I love ammonites so much, I really do. I don't know if I have any in the house. When I left teaching, it wasn't an easy process to leave, and I'm not going to go into the story. But I didn't go back to collect my belongings, put it that way. And a lot of my fossils and crystal collection were in the school. And although when I think about it, I can go, I wish I'd gone and got that. The thing is, it was a decision I made at the time, and it was more to do with my mental health, emotional and mental health and well-being, than it was about anything else. And but the coast near to where I live, it's called the Glamorganshire Heritage Coast still, I think, and it's on the edge of it's part of the Severn Estuary, and the River Severn has got I think it's the 2nd highest tidal range in the world. It's amazing, and the tide really, when it comes in, it really comes in quickly, and that you can have a rise in sea level of, I think it's up to about 11 or 12 metres, and it whoosh, in it comes. But anyway, the rocks in this particular area, in places I like to go, are Carboniferous limestone. I was going to say slimestone, which is my jokey name for it. And I'm going to do this here, just to change this up a little bit. I'm going to put an aura there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to carry on here with it. What I'm going to do at the bottom here is I'm going to put some, there, that's nice, some little black and white squares. Just add something a bit different to it. Anyway, these Carboniferous limestones are stuffed full of ammonites. And as a child, I used to spend hours down on these beaches, days. Yeah. When I was little, not many people had a car, not many people went to such places, and I'm one of 6 children. And my brothers and my younger sister used to bring all their friends along with them. And so the cars used to be packed, but the beaches were practically empty. There might be us and just a few other families taking up all the beach. Now you go down there on a nice day and it's crazy rammed. So I rarely go there. I go this time of year, to be honest. And I might actually if the weather's going to be nice at some point. I've got a pterodactyl kite I still haven't flown. Yep, I've got a kite shaped. Oh, it looks like a pterodactyl, apparently. People flying theirs. I've had people scared thinking it's a real pterodactyl and reports have been made to the police and things. I kid you not. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm just flying my kite, officer. I didn't intend to scare the people. As if I would. I actually need somebody with me for that because I'm no good at launching kites, but that's a different story. So, as a child, seeing these ammonites and other fossils there was endlessly fascinating to me, and still is. I have not forgotten. So I've got a cluster of these, but I want to show a different kind. So I'm going to start by drawing an almost full spiral, or, I'm not going to take it right down to the little bit. I'm going to stop a little bit, instead of going right back to the centre like here, I'm leaving it quite open. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to aura that, and then I can complete this in the same kind of way. Now again, these sections I can put patterns in if I want, or fill the whole area with a pattern. But I really, really do like these. And if you draw them even bigger, with a bit more of a spiral going on, I'm going to go round the outside of this one. Oops. Like so, and I'm not worried if the line's not exactly perfect. Nature isn't exactly perfect, it's perfectly imperfect. And so was your art. You shouldn't get hung up on having everything perfect unless you're going to be a photorealist artist, where you draw or paint as if it's a photograph. It's beautiful to see people who can work like that. But I much prefer to see people's, it's an expression of themselves, but for me that's what photography is for, and I'm not very good at photography. I've done drawings that are fairly, realistic, not quite to that extent, but I get a lot more fun out of stylising things, making things simple, and helping people to do that, making it accessible, which I think is part of the reason I do YouTube. And it may not be to everybody's cup of tea, but, we're all individual and we're all entitled to watch what we like and not watch what we don't like. This really does make me very happy, drawing stylised things. So that's a much bigger one. Perhaps I can do something different with this. So what I'm going to do here is around the edge, I'm going to put little, almost like little holes in it. So I'm putting these little arches in, because I love a good arch. Rounded arch, pointy arches are nice. Gothic arches, but I prefer nice rounded Romanesque ones. As I witter on, I've lost my train of thought about what I was talking about in terms of art. This very stylised way of drawing is very much a scientific kind of way. Usually a bit more detail in scientific drawings, but you know, we get there. So we have these. So we're feeling good about this so far? I hope you are. Okay, something else that's a bit easy to draw, and I'm going to put this here, is I'm going to do a circle like this. Now my lines aren't perfect at all. They're a bit wobbly, they're a bit rough today. I'm sat at my desk. But my chair is most probably a bit too high. So the bump is me letting my chair down to a more comfortable height for my shoulder and back. Then I've got this going behind here, so I'm just going to round that. In here I'm going to draw just a single circle inside. I'm then going to add some ink there, so it looks like this has got some depth to it. This bit here is below. And then I'm just going to pop in, oh look, it's those rounded archy things again. Now I'm realising that I'm working here where I've twisted and turned this paper round, so the light source is all over the place with this, but to be honest with you, I'm not worried. It will work itself out. So that one's quite fun. Okay, let's do another one and do it just slightly differently. So I am stacking them or overlapping these designs here. Let's put another one of these in, but this time I'm going to draw a double ring here, so I'm going to put the shadow on that side, bit there, bit there. And then I can pop, I'm going to pop some more in here, but this time I'm going to make them little so they just peek out. Starting to look a little bit more mechanical, isn't it? The other thing I like to do with these, you know this space here that's between those little bumps, is just put a little line in so it looks like there's a split there. And you can make it look more like a split if you just put a little bit of line weight on the end. It looks like there's almost a crack there. And I could do the same with these, but I could also fill this in a different way. And I'm going to fill it with perk. This will end up looking like I've got ball bearings, which actually I'm fine about. Just adds to the mechanical nature of this. So there's something like that. Okay. Right, this end I'm going to do some of the seed pods here that I've got. So I'm going to draw the pods and then put the stems in. So my pods are going to start with a pointy teardrop shape. You can draw it the other way up if it's easier. And then on one side, and I think I'm going to pick this side for this one, I'm going to draw what I think they would describe as a tethered aura in Zentangle. So I've started at the top, bent outwards, and then come back to join at the bottom. I am going to pop a smaller teardrop shape in there. I'm going to pop a circle at the point, and then I'm going to draw my stem in. And in this area here, I'm going to add line weight on that side. On this side I'm going to, and definitely around here. And to the bottom of that circle. My stem, I'm going to put some really simple leaves in. They're just there to suggest there's a, that is a stem and to give something to it. I don't like thin stems on their own. If it's thicker, I'll leave it without leaves if necessary. And then something in here could be something as simple as perhaps some seeds. And I'm not stuffing it full of seeds, I'm leaving some gaps between them, but that would look quite nice. So let me draw one again. So let's do this. Circle on the bottom, because I can draw that in one go. I'll put the stem in. I'll add some leaves. This one, I think I'll do this tethered aura this side. So they're at a slightly different angle each. With this one, I think I'm just going to put one big seed in the middle. With this seed, I'm actually going to put a little spiral that comes off the top there. So it gives that feeling that there's some volume going on. Then on the outside edge here, I'm going to add curved lines that curve upwards towards the top, consistently all the way down, but what I'm going to try and do is put the lines closer together, the closer I get to the ends, because that adds more ink, which makes them look darker. Well, we need a third one, don't we? So, how about I do one that's the other way round? How would that look? With this one, I've drawn the teardrop shape much bigger. I've also put the other one smaller than in proportion than these, but moved it to the top so I've got some space at the bottom. I'm going to put that tethered aura in to add some volume to that seed pod. I'm going to add my that little ball at the end, and then we're going to add the leaves in. I will add some line weight in places, definitely towards the bottom of this. Need to do the leaves as well. So I'm getting there. Okay, and there. So that all works. And then in the middle of this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in here another teardrop shape. And I'm just going to add some black bands. These are bending up slightly towards the point, because that will give some kind of dimension. And if I just add some darkness on this side, it'll look like that's sunk in there as well. Okay, I'm going to go back with use my finer pen, because here I'm using my go-to pattern for things like this. I'm going to use Shattuck. I find the curved one works better in curved spaces than the straight one, but there are others that you can use. So whatever pattern grabs you, I'm into that one. And then in this big space here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some textural pattern. Just little circles. You can have them half cut, if you half cut off, or cut in half by the edges. It's not essential, but we've got that there. So that looks a lot more complex than these other ones do, yet when you break it down into simple steps, the only difference is how much detail we add from something that's very simple, which basically has the teardrop shape, the extra bit of volume, the central bit with some seeds in, to this one which has the extra patterns there, and one big seed with that little bit of circle, and this one's got a lot of different patterns going on. The choice is entirely yours, by the way, as to what you do. The other thing I'm going to do is I've got the 01 pen and I'm just going to pop central veins into my leaves, like so. And what I'm going to do with these leaves is I'm going to put veins on one side of the leaf, the one that would be at the bottom of the leaf as we look at it. So there we go. So we've got that. That's fun. Okay. So we have these. Just adding some line weight here just to help to bring some dimension into these. I haven't done it to everything, but get the ideas. Okay, so let's have a look. A couple of things. I mean, there's other things that we can do. I'm trying to think. I've got a space here and I did want to draw. What was the ones I really wanted to do? Can you remember? I'm saying, can you remember? As if I can hear you. Okay. Another teardrop shape, and I'm only going to do one of these, is I'm going to draw a teardrop shape like this. So it's got a bit of a curve in the end here. So instead of a straight line, I've curved it down around and then just brought it back. And I am going to put a little shape in like that. And I'm going to just put some auras in there, and underneath that last one I'm just going to fill it in with black. That creates an opening. It looks like we have a hole there. And I'm also going to add line weight there and here. Now this is where I am going to use a pen, because what I want to do here is I want to create a kind of shell shape. So I'm going to use a pencil because this will help you. I did it freehand in my book here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this side and I'm going to draw an S shape. So it's a backward S, but you get the idea. And then I'm going to draw an S like this, and I'll connect that top bit. I'll come back to this, do not fret. And I'm going to work that all the way down to the point. It doesn't have to be precisely follow the pencil lines, you can vary it as you go. The last one will be there. So this one, like that. So we've got something that looks like a shell. Weird shell, but it works. Okay, so let me have a look. I'll turn this upside down and let's have a look at doing another one of these, but perhaps in a slightly different direction, and see if we can vary this shape a little bit. So going to do the same thing to get that hole in the middle. Now for this one I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to have my shell going like this, I think. Don't want too pointy an end, but let's see how this works. So I'm going to start here, and this time I'm just going to draw ever decreasing sort of like C shapes, because they are letter C's. You can make them wide, small, wide, small if you like, or just keep them all the same and then the end one there. The choice is yours, always. So we've got these here. I've got some awkward spaces around this design, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in some of those. These ones from up here. Oh, and line weight for these really does help. So I'm picking this side as where it's going to be darkest. This one here can be darkest, so these will be as well. So I've got some of these here. This one, I'm just going to draw some shapes in like that, add some line weight. Perhaps another one here, because I can. Add some line weight and some lines going that way. Here I'm going to add some of these seeds that look like this. Instantly, I always feel that as soon as I start connecting them together in this way, even if I've left a bit of a gap between them, they seem to come together quite nicely. So that looks nice. I've got a bit of an issue here, so I'm going to add some more of these littler ones here. I think that'll be okay otherwise. Then I've got this space here. There is there are a couple of things I can show, but I think what I might do is have something growing from here, and it's going to be these couple of these horn shaped things. So I'm starting with a V. I'm going to join the tops together with a curve. I've done an outward curve this time, but you could do inward. I'm now going to add some tentacles. I'm making mine all straight, but you could make them wavy. And I'm also leaving a little gap between them, because then I can come back and fill the top in with ones like this. And then I'm going to add some stripes, like so. And I'm going to make that one a bit thicker, that one there. I'm not going to worry about the others, I don't think, for now. So I can then draw another one, perhaps coming off here. And this one I'll draw going inwards so you can see what the difference might be. It's not the best example here, but you can play with them and see which you prefer, or mix and match them, which is what I probably would do. And then I can just draw my tentacles in. I'm going to make these ones a bit chubbier, because chubby tentacles are good. So we've got a clutch of those there. Let's add some line weights. I've got a weird one up there, but it is what it is. And perhaps I can just sneak one in up here, like so, and we'll have some short tentacles in, like so. And let's give a pattern to our stripes. So wide, narrow, wide, narrow. And that'll be nice. Odd area here, so I'm going to do the trick of adding these seeds in, and perhaps one down there. I think another one there will work. And perhaps a couple here between these, just to kind of connect them together. It'll be quite fun. Perhaps a small one there. And here. And put one there. That'll be quite nice. That's quite nice. I've got this strange area here, but I think what I'm going to do there is just pop a clutch of these in. And arrange them as if they are all gathered together, which looks quite cute. In fact, I think I might do some here in the same way, so they're not on their own in that kind of organisation. So there we go, we've got all of these here. There we are. So that is most of, but not all of, the motifs I have on this page. So if I show you this with the page, you can see which ones I've missed out. I'm just going to, there we go, move stuff over. Can we get it all on one page? Yes, we can get it all on one screen. So I've done these ones, done those, done those. We've done these, and I've done these. These are just a variation on these, they're just more plumptious. I haven't done Indirella, I haven't done these, I haven't done those, I haven't done the mussel shells, and I haven't done these. But I sort of have, but I haven't done these ones. These are drawn slightly differently. I've done those, so I've done a fair amount. Oh look, little balls. There, didn't do those leaves. But I will come back and do the others. Got this one, so I'm going to make sure I fix this in. I've got washi tape everywhere. Well, I actually haven't got it everywhere. I've got some in a basket somewhere. So the next thing I'm just going to have a look at very quickly is starting to add some shadow to this. I've got an eraser here because pencil has to go with me. Yeah. Zentangle and my style of art do overlap quite a bit. But I'm not a Zentangle teacher. I tell people this so they don't get confused with me. And but if I use a Zentangle pattern, I know what it is. I will always tell you. And if you see me using one and I don't name it, just tell me. And if you know the name, even better. Just can't keep up with them all. Tanglepatterns.com is a very big resource of tangle patterns, not just the official, the official Zentangle ones are mentioned and included there, but the others, there are so many others that people create. So I'm using here an Inktense pencil. I've put the Inktense at the edges where the colour would be darkest. When I'm using water, it activates the Inktense, it turns the pencil into an ink, shows its true colour as well, and I can blend it out like that. I'll do the same on this one. So I'm putting this colour, which is rose pink, on alternate sections, which actually works out really nicely. Here. Then I can use the water brush just to activate it. I want to keep the middle bit lighter, so I'm trying not to pull too much colour in. I'm also, the pen gets a bit, the water brush gets a bit mucky. I'll just wipe the colour off on the back of my hand because I haven't got any tissue or kitchen paper or a cloth to hand here today. Once that's dry, I can always go back with more, which is the fun thing about these. I know what colour I want. I've got one there. This one was the Deep Rose Inktense, which you won't see, it's light reflection. This is Sienna Gold, which is a lovely orangey yellow, lovely warm yellow. And I just think pink and yellow here will look just nice together. So I'll do this one really quickly. You can see how the Inktense really activates very quickly with water. It's a very light touch. I prefer a water brush to a brush in a pot of water, to be honest. A, because there's less chance of me spilling water everywhere. It can be incredibly clumsy. And I mean that. I can be so clumsy. but also it's very portable and you're not forever having to rinse it off and so on. The reservoir on these are the Kuretake Zig ones, hold a fair amount of water. These are the only ones out, these and some by Caran d'Ache. Caran d'Ache are the only ones I like. I don't bother with others. The Tim Holtz ones are these, just packaged differently. And these are cheaper than the Tim Holtz ones. So just saying. So I've got that. That looks very seasidey, sunsidey. Okay, I'm just going to go for a quick... Have a look at this colour. This is oak. So let's have a look. Not sure what kind of green this is. Oh, it's brown. Genius. That is green. It's a grey green, admittedly, but no, I don't want mallard green. That would be just a bit much. Oh, light olive could be nice. I do like a light olive. Yep, that'll work for the greens. So I'm going to use this on here. I'm only going to do one of these. I'm going to start really dark at the bottom on one side, and then on the other side I'm going to create darkness at the top and light at the bottom, which sounds absolutely a crazy thing to do, but it's not realistic. But I actually quite like the effect you get. As you can see, I've activated the colour at the bottom, trying to keep it fairly smooth. Here I'm activating it at the top and I'm just blending that colour down, and we get a very light colour towards the bottom. May need a bit more colour. That'll work fine. Let me do this one, because this will be all nice and dark here. Trying not to cross over into that damp area, because you'll get a lot of Inktense down, and once it's down and dried you can't remove it. Inktense pencils dry permanent. They're called Inktense because when you activate the pencil that you put down, it turns into a permanent ink. But when it's dry, it's permanent. Put a little bit of darkness just there. And I could do the same down here, because I can pick some of that excess colour up and just add a bit of darkness there, so that we've got a bit in shadow just at the bottom. So that really turns those into leaves of some kind. I won't do those because they're going to be very similar. Okay, we have a look here. Let's go to this. So I'm going to add the deep rose here, and I'm also going to add it at the bottom. You could use 3 different colours or 1 colour. I'm not a great fan, well, I say I'm not a great fan. I'm a fan of when other people are able to put 2 colours down and blend them. I can do it with alcohol markers, but I'm not good at these. I'll come back to that one in a moment when it's dried. I'm going to put some Sienna gold on that and on that one. I really do like this colour. Oranges and yellows have never been my favourite colours, but the older I get, the more I enjoy the more orangey, warmer yellows, and I particularly like burnt orange. I also like rusty oranges, orangey reds. It's very puzzling, or perhaps not. Okay, so it's starting to get some colour going on in here. So I'm going to add some the rose to the bottom here, and I'll add some rose in these petals, rose petals. Yeah. Do some around the edge, perhaps do some there. The nice thing about Inktense too is once you activate it, it is translucent, so if I go over the lines, as long as I don't put too much of it down, the black lines will still show through. Now with these, I'm not going to try and get a really good gradient from intense pink to not so intense pink, because the areas are too little really. I just pick some of the yellow up, but if that happens, it happens, and it adds some variation in the colour as well, which I'm fine with. So I've got that. Okay. This one here, I do want something that's quite dark for inside, so I'm going to dig over here, see what I can come up with. I've got an Indian ink here, which is black, so I'm going to put some black on either side where it would be the darkest and along the bottom. And then I can just bring this out. I want to leave a bit of a highlight though in the middle. So we'll be all right now. There we go, that'll be fine. Just gives you that feeling. I'd have preferred a brown, but I'm not fertling around for browns. Okie dokes, another colour. Oh, what colour's that? Thistle will do. For these, I'm going to use this Thistle, which is another sort of like reddish pink, but it's more towards the purple, hopefully. So I'm putting the Inktense right at the bottom, where it's going to be the darkest. And I'm going to try and preserve that level of darkness, or certainly a darker area at the bottom. Do want to activate it all though. And bear in mind, I know full well that I can come back with a jelly roll or similar, white pen, and add white highlights to these, so I'm not trying to leave a white area, because I do that because it's easier. Actually, the Sakura soufflés are the best because they just don't pick, well, the jelly rolls won't pick the colour up, but they're not as opaque as the soufflés. Soufflé pens. That's actually very similar to the deep rose, so let's go spelunking for a different pattern. I don't want fuchsia. No, I don't want fuchsia. Why have I got so many fuchsias here? Oh, I've got a red violet. That must probably be very similar. Let's have a look. I do have to say there are many colours here that are very similar, but I think that's a little bit on the different side. Honestly, seriously. Isn't it amazing when you want a colour you can never find it? Oh, there we are, as a mauve, which should be more of a purple. It is. So I'll just add some here. So we're going to have variations. Who says these can't be different colours? They're all in the same colour families. You know, they're close in colour and tone, so they'll be fine. Okay. Right then. Hokey cokey. These ones, I think I'm going to use that. The red violet, mauve here for some of the stripes. So I'll do one. And I'll leave that to dry. I'm trying to decide what colour I want in the middle. I think I'm going to go with the Sienna Gold, but I want that mauve to dry first. So I'm going to do some of these tentacles in the Sienna Gold. Perhaps I'll do them all in the Sienna Gold and then might add a hint of pink or purple elsewhere. That could be quite nice. Or with these. I just think that would be nice. Just that hint at the top. So if I go back to Thistle, I'm going to use my brush just to pick some colour up from the tip of the pencil, like it's a watercolour pan. It doesn't harm the pencil at all. As soon as it dries, it'll be exactly the same as it was before. So I've got a bit of colour variation going on there. And I'm going to add the Sienna Gold to the in-between pieces. Play with colour as you wish. I tend to keep things, or try to keep things simple. If I go crazy over the top, things never look good with me. And this is one of the problems I have when I'm working digitally, because I've got every colour under the sun, plus a few extra that perhaps only exist in digital realms. Okay. Alright, so I think you're getting the idea. I have gone over 5 minutes, so this is really a lot of the pieces from my trying to work out which way looks up. None of them do. That must probably. There we go, we'll have it that way. So we've got some strange things going on here in some ways, but it's all good fun. And I quite like that open centre. It looks like, you know, pool. If I had more time, I'd actually add a lot more colour and shade, but hopefully you get the idea. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've gained some ideas from this. I hope you find the confidence to have a go at trying things out for yourself. Start with a simple structure, you know, a spiral, and see how you can fill it in. Or one of these and see how you can split it up in different ways and fill those sections in different ways and see what happens. These, what was the simplest, or you know, the variation that I did at the end? Oh, let's turn it the other way up. Sometimes it's just something like that can make the difference. With these, you could do the whole spiral in these bits at the end. So you could make it like that with these. I've made different thicknesses. You could start with them quite thick at the top and getting narrower and narrower towards the bottom, or vice versa. How, you know, my tentacles here are very organised, but what happens if you make them long and windy and twisty? Like they're floating in water, and they can overlap and weave in and out of each other. It's always fun. These are long. What about if you made them shorter? What about if instead of round berries we used like little leaf-shaped things, or added other things in there? So have fun with this, and I will see you again soon. Won't be tomorrow, which will be Monday the 20th of February already. Where is the time going? Because I'm away for the day tomorrow. I'm visiting a friend, so that'll be lovely. And Tuesday, not so sure, can't remember. I think, do I have anything on Tuesday? Yeah, I do in the evening. I've got to go to a meeting in person in the evening, so a bit scared. So look after yourselves, take care, and hopefully I'll see you again soon, and fingers crossed I'll get this before I have to go to a meeting tonight. In person. I have to leave my house. I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the week again. Hey ho! Mood takes a plummet. It's fine. I'll cope with it. Until then, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Oh, and be creative. Bye-bye for now.